expecting an appearance by Ms. Miller shortly, but let's get going. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the board meeting scheduled for Thursday, March 9th. If you would please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. Notices announcing the date, time, and place for this meeting were sent to all concerned individuals, associations, and sent to Union County local source in accordance with Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975. For the roll call, Ms. Stanton? Here. Ms. Miller? Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Ms. Cohn? Vice President Cho? Here. President Colon?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Jess. And so we are going to kick off with a couple of presentations: Rotary Club, Student Safety, System Reporting, and HIB, which is semi-annual. Should we move? Sure. Okay, let's move for the presentations.
Good evening. We have a special presentation this evening from the Summit Rotary Club. The students of Summit Public Schools have benefited from the generosity of the Rotary Club for many, many years. They donate curricular resources, they provide scholarships to high school seniors, and one of the best days of the year is when our high school music students get to attend a Rotary luncheon and perform for the group in December. So thank you very much the Rotary and everybody who works hard in that organization to support the students of Summit Public Schools. With that, I'd like to invite Mr. Eric Evers and Jim Fleischman up for a presentation.
Good evening. Appreciate you carving some time out this evening for talk about the Rotary Club. Just to do a quick little overview of what the Rotary Club is all about, and then Jim Fleischman, our secretary, our treasurer, is going to come up and talk about a couple of special projects that we've been offering for the school system for some time now. So internationally, Rotary is an organization that provides professional leadership united worldwide, provides humanitarian services. We encourage high ethical standards in vocations and all businesses. Rotary membership provides the opportunity to become connected to your community. We work with others in the community, fellow business leaders, and we also have opportunity to connect professionals not only locally and also worldwide. Locally, Summit Province Rotary Club has been in existence since 1922, 100 years. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary last summer. And also, more importantly, we've been offering scholarships to the schools locally since 1926. That's something we're very proud of. One of the big products we do for the schools is our dictionary and Constitution project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jim Fleischman, and he'll go into more detail about what we provide for the schools.
So thank you for giving us a few minutes. I'll be very brief. As Eric said, we started 100 years ago in 1922. In 1926, we started giving scholarships. This year, we will give the 98th consecutive scholarships to the Summit and New Providence high schools. It's worth noting in 1926, the first scholarship that we gave was to a young man named Philip Dean. He went to Colgate, and 30 years later, he was elected mayor of Summit. About 22 or 23 years ago, we started something called a dictionary project. And essentially, this is a dictionary that was specifically designed for students between the ages of 7 to 9, so roughly the third grade students. It's specially designed to attract these kids. It has the longest word in the English dictionary, in the English language. It's got a series of weights and measures, all very well articulated. It's got the periodic table, so there's a whole section on chemistry, a lot Roman numerals, the Constitution's in here. There's statistics about a lot of information on every state in the Union. There's a history of all the presidents. There's maps of the world, maps of the solar system, and there's even American Sign Language. So in addition, of course, the normal stuff you find in a dictionary, the definitions, the synonyms, the antonyms, a little bit of grammar and so on. The system or the program is run by the librarians. The librarians love it because these things, the kids love these things, sucks them in, makes it very easy for the librarians to use them as a teaching tool. Every third grader in Summit and New Providence gets their own dictionary every year. We've been doing this for, can't remember exactly, over 2 decades. Also, there is certainly a Spanish speaking component in the Summit school system. This dictionary is bilingual. It's not quite as student-friendly as the English version, but it is a bilingual dictionary. So for the kids that are learning English, this is also available. Moving on. On January 6, 2021, you all remember what happened in Washington. In their wisdom, the state of New Jersey, the legislature passed legislation sometime in I think it was June, July of 2021, that civics would be mandatorily taught in every public school in the state of New Jersey. I think specifically in the middle school, I'm not positive about that. In any event, we thought this would be a great opportunity to piggyback what we're doing with the dictionary project, and we started something called the Constitution Project. Every middle schooler in Summit and New Providence, starting last year, we're giving them a specially designed pamphlet with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and so on. Every middle schooler in New Providence and Summit gets their own version of this. However, this cost us $1.50 in 2022. When we went to reorder in 2023, they upped the price to $5. We went to the government printing office, which prints their own version for $2, up from $1 the year before, but nevertheless saved us a lot of money. So that money can go into our scholarship fund. And once again, every student in the Summit and New Providence school systems gets their own copy of the Constitution. And actually, I think the feedback we got from New Providence is the kids like these are cooler than these big things. And I promised Scott that we wouldn't take more than 3 or 4 minutes. I'm assuming there aren't any questions. I'll take them if there are. If you think of a question that you want to know or you want to have answered later, I refer you to Stephanie Cohn, who is a past president of the Rotary and knows as much about this stuff as I do. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Scott. Thank you.
Once again, thank you. We're very fortunate to have you supporting our schools and our students. Thanks so much. All right, our second presentation tonight is the Student Safety Data System Report. This is a report that we as a school district, all school districts in New Jersey, are required to report out the data twice a year. The data you're going to see tonight is for incidents that occur between September 1 and December 31st. The incidents we're speaking of, those of you that may have been around for a while, this used to be called the Electronic Violence and Vandalism Report. It's now the Student Safety Data Report. Incidents of, vandalism, weapons use, substance use, as well as all of the HIB or HIB investigations, harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigations. So to present the data for reporting period 1, we will report the data for reporting period 2 next fall. Reporting period 2 would be from January 1 of this year through June 30. So for tonight, reporting period 1 data is going to be Ms. Crystal Marr, Director of Student Personnel Services. She also wears the hat of the district's anti-bullying coordinator.
Thank you very much. As you can see, we include data from the current year as well as historical data from 3 prior school years. All of the data represented here are incidents of violence and vandalism. The categories on the right under these 2 headings represent the types of incidents that the state requires us to keep track of and to report data on. These incidents represent a time when a student received exclusionary discipline either through in-school or out-of-school suspension or was otherwise removed from the school setting. It's important to note that a single incident can account for multiple data points. For example, if there was a threat with a weapon, that's a single incident that could be both a threat as well as weapon. Again, here you can see data represented for the 1920 through the 22-23 school years for period 1. On this slide, you can see a continuation of the data in the same format. This data represents offenses related to substance abuse and other incidences that may not fall into the prior categories, but are also captured in the suspension data. Other incidents leading to removal include, but are not limited to, inappropriate language, inappropriate behavior, insubordination, and other actions that do not fit within the state categories. A data point here that was noteworthy to us, and I'm sure stands out to you as well, is an uptick in confirmed substance use. There's been a large increase in vaping, and when we catch a student vaping, we send them out for testing. And what we're finding when we send them out for testing are positive results, as you can see. Our administrative teams and counseling departments are working on efforts to educate the student body and to bring in additional programming to reduce the use of substances within the schools. Some of the programming upcoming for the spring semester that we hope will combat substance use for our students are the upcoming OM3D, or One Moment, 3 Decision Simulation, marijuana misuse prevention, programming for National Drug and Alcohol Fact Week, and a presentation from Rutgers Recovery House, where college students will share firsthand experience with misuse and becoming sober and staying sober through college. The upcoming portion of this presentation will provide context for HIB, or our harassment, intimidation, and bullying. As Superintendent Huff said, we're required to report out the total number of HIB cases that are investigated and affirmed by the school board during the reporting period. The upcoming slides will show the number of confirmed cases as well as remediation that occurs for those confirmed cases. Additionally, beginning this school year, we are required to report any instances of what's called preliminary determination. This means that a report was made to the school about a student that potentially fell into the harassment, intimidation, and bullying reporting mechanism, but the principal and superintendent collectively decided that it should be handled either under the code of conduct or as a counseling situation, meaning that it would not be reported as an instance of HIB. Also required in our report is a list of the anti-bullying staff for the district and school sites, which can be found on this slide. Please note that there is at least 1 coordinator listed for each school, and there are multiple coordinators for the middle and high schools. Here we have the total number of harassment, intimidation, and bullying cases investigated and confirmed at each building. As you can see, the first number represents the number of cases investigated, and the second number represents the number of confirmed HIB cases, which means they were found to be in violation of our harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. I'd like to address the recent rise in instances of harassment, intimidation, and bullying that have occurred and that you can see on the slide. With the changes to the HIB law in 2022, we've worked really diligently over the last year to refine our process and ensure alignment with the state-mandated reporting requirements under the New Jersey Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. We're ensuring that we investigate anything that fits into the parameters of the law, and we value an environment in which all students feel safe, supported, and included, and we are firmly committed to these goals. As with any other student behaviors, conflicts, etc., not all bullying looks the same. We are charged with following this formal process and reporting mechanism, but it's important to share that these instances, plus many code of conduct violations, are handled the same way. Yes, sometimes there is discipline, but many of the incidents here, as you will see in the following slide, are handled with counseling visits and serve as teachable moments for our students. To that end, we're not only investigating these instances of bullying, but we're also providing learning opportunities for students so that they can learn to more effective ways to self-regulate, develop empathy for others, and create healthy relationships. Our board goals and daily actions are all aimed at creating a positive school environment where all students can thrive. The nature of the incidents of HIB during this reporting period are, as you can see here, race, ethnic origin, gender identity and expression, ancestry, mental, physical, or sensory disability, appearance, color, and sexual orientation. And as you can see, the remediation and discipline include everything from parent contact and student counseling to denial of privileges and suspension. The interesting thing is, the remediation of HIB and actions taken by the schools are the same as if we had handled it under the code of conduct. So just because a situation falls into the bucket of HIB doesn't mean that there are any extra consequences or any extra actions taken by the school. We take all student behavior incidences seriously, and we make sure that appropriate teachable moments are provided to students to continue in their learning journey. On this final slide, you can see trainings and programs in our district that address student behaviors and instances of HIB. Some programs to highlight are our Nurtured Heart training for staff and parents, the Week of Respect and Red Ribbon Week that occur annually in October. And during these weeks, each building delivers programming to reinforce the messages and themes of the week. Peer leadership at Summit High School, where peer leaders deliver lessons in health and PE classes on topics like transitioning to high school, the impact of words on others, and managing stress. SEL meeting time and advisory at the Midland High School provide opportunities for students and staff to regularly connect, build a sense of community, and incorporate social-emotional learning lessons. And our high school self-care fair, where over 24 community organizations provide resources for high school students on how to care for themselves and to teach them how to care for others. Through these efforts, we work diligently to continue to improve our programming across schools, both to react to trends that we see as they come across and to proactively educate our school community. Thank you for your time.
You know, in many ways, when we take a look at the historical data and we use past years as a comparison, we all know based on what kind of abbreviated schooling we've had due to the pandemic that it's not really a true comparison. So we're certainly going to track this data moving forward, even where you see some of the heightened data points with substance use and HIBs. We didn't wait until now to figure out that it's a little bit trending on the high side. We've been watching throughout the whole reporting period. So the administration and teams have been talking about ways to get ahead of this now. And hopefully as we transition back to normal, we'll see a little bit more settling of these numbers in conjunction with the new programming and efforts that we put forth. Are there any questions from the board? Ms. Miller?
First, on our use numbers, while it's not necessarily relevant to me, what's going on in our area, do you have any information from our sister districts? Are we generally seeing all rise, or is this something else?
This is not just a Summit problem. Same thing with student conflict, whether it's code of conduct or HIB. Everything is trending higher. It's not just a Summit problem. We see this across the state, if not across the nation.
Sounds good. Okay. Good to know. And secondarily, is there a specific age group that, I don't know if you can publicly share, is there a specific age group where this is happening more often?
Yeah, we pretty much targeted the high school for more of the positive substance abuse cases, and certainly the HIBs, the harassment and bullying cases are more targeted at the middle level. That's not new. Developmentally, since we have been tracking and investigating HIBs from 2011 from the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act, the middle level is where most of that action occurs. It's just a developmental function of that age group. But the high school is tracking with a little bit higher vapes. It is in the middle school to some extent as well, certainly not the same extent, which is concerning, but we're seeing it there as well. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those presentations. And before I jump into the next agenda item, I would like to offer a thank you to the Rotary Club for their contributions to this district. I know that we have over the course of time and more often over the course of the year thanked the SEF, Summit Educational Foundation, and the Summit Foundation for what they contribute to Summit. But there are other organizations that are contributing meaningfully as well, and it was actually great to hear from one of those this evening. And so thank you to the Rotary Club for what they're bringing to our students. Report of new hires. We have 2 new hires to approve today, one on the addendum and one on the agenda. So, Mr. Huff, I leave it to you.
Thank you, President Cologne. We're actually going to recognize 3 new hires. We had a new hire last month that wasn't able to attend the meeting, so we put them together to be recognized today. So this is something we do like to do when we hire new staff and welcome them to our professional team, is bring them to the board meetings, recognize them, say something about their background before the board votes them in, and celebrate them joining Summit Public Schools. So when I call your name, if you could stand up so the board can recognize you. Starting with Riley Clark. Riley will be a social studies teacher at Lawton C. Johnson Summit Middle School. Riley attended Gettysburg College, where she received her BA in history. Riley is joining Summit with several years of teaching experience, most recently in Linden, New Jersey. Sydney Burnett. Sydney will be a part-time school counselor at Wilson Primary Center. Sydney has been working at Wilson since the beginning of the school year as a leave replacement counselor. She has received her bachelor in psychology from Kane University, and she received her master's degree in school counseling from New Jersey University. Welcome. And Rich Groner. Rich will be a social studies teacher at the high school. Rich attended Washington and Lee University, where he received his bachelor's degree in philosophy, and he attended New York University, where he received his master's degree in social studies education. Rich has 6 years of teaching experience, most recently in Montclair. Request from the board to take action to vote them in.
Fantastic. One of the best parts of the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve our new hires?
Second. Ms. Stanton? Yes. Ms. Miller? Yes. Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Yes. Ms. Cohen? Yes. Vice President Cho? Yes. President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations and welcome to the Summit School District. We can take a 2-minute break. So for those not interested in the remainder of the agenda, you can call it an evening, and 3 minutes. We'll get going again. Two and a half. All right. My comments. Here we go. In my monthly comments throughout this year, I have attempted to cover many student initiatives spanning all grade levels, with the exception of our youngest learners in our primary centers. And so for my comments this month, I would like to highlight our kindergartners, and specifically as spring is upon us, their pending transition from the primary centers to the elementary schools. There's been a significant amount of thought and effort put into enhancing this transition process and ensuring our primary center students are comfortable and prepared for their transition to elementary school. This work has been spearheaded by Primary Center's principal, Mr. Evan Kozak, in coordination with school primary center counselors, Ms. Lauren Mortensen and Ms. Cindy Burnett. The transition initiative planned for this year will have elementary school counselors visit the primary centers and meet the incoming first graders. Additionally, students will be grouped by homeschool and participate in a get-to-know-you activity with their elementary school counselor. This initiative allows for the counselor and students to establish a rapport that will continue to be built during their time in elementary school. In prior years, the transition process was focused primarily on the educational staff, with primary and elementary teachers and counselors meeting to discuss potential needs of incoming first grade students. But there was no planned opportunities for the students to get together and interact with each other and their counselors. Establishing student relationships as well as student counselor relationships prior to the start of first grade will most certainly facilitate the transition to elementary school later this year. And I was counting for those parents whose oldest child is in kindergarten right now. They are less than 6 months away from being in first grade. So it comes fast. Mr. Kozak will be sending out more information to primary center families soon and expects to launch the enhanced student transition process within the next month. This is a great example of an ESL initiative to foster a comfortable learning environment for our students, which includes their transitions within our educational system. Thank you to Mr. Kozak, Ms. Mortensen, and Ms. Burnett, and all of the educators who are participating in this valuable work. And on that note, I will pass the microphone to you, Superintendent Huff.
Thank you, President Colon. I will begin my remarks tonight.
With a little history lesson about a valuable resource that has benefited the students of Summit Public Schools for many, many years. That resource is called the Hubbard Fund. The Summit Foundation has been the stewards of the Hubbard Fund since its inception in 1998. I would like to thank the members of the Summit Foundation throughout those many, many years who've managed this fund and made sure that the school district has had access to the valuable resource. Mr. G. Morrison Hubbard Jr. was a lifelong resident of Summit. He attended the Old Lincoln School, which opened in 1909, and he graduated from Summit High School in 1926. The 3 generations of Hubbard family attended Lincoln School. Mr. Hubbard remained actively involved in the school district throughout his entire life. He financed scholarships for graduating Summit High School seniors who attended Lincoln, and he enjoyed visiting Lincoln School on various occasions to speak with the students about the history of the city of Summit. After many years of tremendous generosity from the Hubbard family to the students of Summit Public Schools, the Board of Education decided to rename the school Lincoln Hubbard Elementary School. In 1998, the Hubbard family donated a substantial amount of money to the Summit Foundation to be used to support all students of Summit Public Schools. Between 1999 and 2016, Summit Public Schools received nearly $900,000 from the Hubbard Fund for various projects such as artificial turf at Tatlock, playground equipment at Wilson and Jefferson Primary Centers, and the Lincoln Hubbard Learning Commons. Through the Summit Foundation, the Hubbard Fund also supported $163,000 worth of improvements to the Learning Center at Washington Elementary School in 2017, and $140,000 in 2020, the Brayton Elementary School Library. This year, Mayor Radis and I approved the remaining Hubbard funds to be used to upgrade the sound system in the high school auditorium. This last allocation of the Hubbard Fund will bring to an end a legacy of 25 years that the students of Summit Public Schools benefited from the generosity of the Hubbard family's donation. On behalf of the Board of Education, and the entire Summit Public School community, we thank G. Morris Hubbard Jr. and the Hubbard family for their tremendous generosity and support for the students of Summit Public Schools. With that, this past Monday, Mr. Derek Jess and I presented the school district's 2023-2024 annual school budget to the Board of School Estimate and the Board of Education. As you may know, our goal each year is to develop a budget that remains under the 2% cap restriction imposed by the state. I'm happy to report that with a lot of hard work and thoughtfulness, we were able to remain under the 2% cap, and the Board of Education approved our tentative budget. We submitted a tentative budget to the county for their approval, and we are scheduled to approve the final budget on Monday, March 27th. I would like to thank the members of the Board of School Estimate and the Board of Education for their diligent oversight of this process. I would like to thank Mr. Jess and all of the administrators who have contributed to the development of this budget, which reflects our goals and shared values as a school district. Congratulations to Mr. Scott Petrillo, Summit High School counselor, who has been selected the 2023 Counselor of Union County. There'll be more to come with that. That was just out. Earlier this month, we celebrated Read Across America. This is always a significant and highly anticipated event in our school district. We hosted guest readers, including Summit dignitaries such as Mayor Radis, council members, and the Summit Police Department. We also had Summit High School student peer leaders be guest readers at our elementary classrooms. As usual, our students participated in many activities and events throughout the entire week of Read Across America. Many thanks to the librarians and principals for organizing and coordinating the events, activities, and guest readers to encourage the love of reading of our students.
Out of our arts department, congratulations to Summit High School students who put on a terrific spring musical, Something Rotten. Well done to the actors, set, lighting, and all crew members. And of course, our theater director, Ms. Ann Pointer. Lawton C. Johnson Summit Middle School is excited to announce that tickets are now on sale for their spring musical, The Little Mermaid. Performances will be Friday, March 17th at 7 p.m. and Saturday, March 18th at 2 and 7 p.m. Tickets are $13 for children and seniors and $15 for adults. More information can be found on our district website. Congratulations to all City Music Masters. The music event recognizes students from the middle school and the high school with the highest levels of musicianship and performance abilities. Students were selected to represent the band, orchestra, and chorus from both schools. Each student then performed a solo at the All City Music Masters concert in February. Congratulations to Olivia Baldwin, Sophia Fu, Skylar Roswell Wilson, Allison Yemang Grau, Ed Wang, John Cho, and Julie Lucifers. In the world of athletics, congratulations to senior Lily Spinner, who has been selected as Summit High School's NJSI 8A Scholar Athlete of the Year. Lily has been the varsity field hockey starting goalie, varsity ice hockey goalie, and captain, and she holds multiple school records. She will continue her academic and lacrosse career at Yale University. Each athletic season, the Union County Conference recognizes a male and female athlete each week from one of the schools in the county who have had noteworthy athletic accomplishments. I want to congratulate the two Summit athletes who were recognized this winter by the county, Laura Sexton for girls swimming and Dylan Goldfarb for boys hockey. And finally, 3 players on the varsity girls hockey team earned all conference honors. Congratulations to Lily Spinner, first team goalie, Elizabeth Huskar, first team defense, and Allie Cornell, second team defense. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. Moving on, we have Elena Knights, our student representative. Oh, yes, I was jumping past. I did educationally the approval of HIBs as well as item C, so items A, B, and C on the superintendent's report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Burnett?
Yes.
Ms. Cullen?
Yes.
Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Malone?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Jess, for catching on that. And now, we move to Ms. Knights, our our student representative for an update.
I'll just speak up. Hi, I'm Lenny Travis, Board of Education Liaison for Student Council. I'm here to inform you all of student happenings at Summit High School. Spring sports are starting again, with some tryouts taking place as soon as next week. And as we transition from winter depression into traditional summer countdown, I'd like to congratulate all our winter sports on their seasons. The Summit Girls Swim Team finished an extremely victorious season with an 11-2 overall record. They sadly lost to Chatham in the state sectional finals, but were able to send 8 swimmers to the meet of champions. This is where sophomore Sydney Arcella, who was ranked 3rd in New Jersey, was crowned champion in both the 100 and 200 free yard style competitions. All underclassmen have high hopes for next year's winter season. Meanwhile, the boys basketball team finished off another successful season, February 22nd, with a 16-10 overall record. They placed 3rd in their division overall. The musical also had their closing night last week. The theater department performed Something Rotten, which features 2 16th century playwrights as they tried to make a hit play in Shakespearean-loving England. Hesba Campos gave an amazing performance as a crazy and comedic soothsayer, while Matt Hecker, who played the Renaissance rock star Shakespeare, had people swooning in the audience. Overall, this is a great play and deserves all the accolades we hope it will receive in the upcoming Rising Star Awards. The debate team recently got back from the Harvard debate tournament in Boston, Massachusetts, and all who attended loved the trip. Students were allowed to tour Boston with their friends and explore the Harvard University campus. Out of the 4,000 competitors from 400 schools, Summit finished with multiple designations and student finalists. Congratulations to all who attended. On March 7th this week, the Jewish Heritage Club held their Purim celebration during lunch. Purim celebrates the Jews being saved from persecution in the ancient Persian Empire, and students were encouraged to dress up to commemorate this occasion. A student who was dressed in a SpongeBob costume was among those seen at the gathering. Finally, students also have the opportunity to attend a writer's workshop with best-selling author Steve Shankin during the lunch block tomorrow. Many students are looking forward to this amazing opportunity. This was your Student Happenings Report. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Okay, moving into additions, revisions to the agenda. We covered one already. Secretary Jess, would you like to review the others?
Yes, thank you, President Colon. There are 2 additions to the agenda this evening, both under personnel. Item M, approval to rescind the offer of employment to Shannon O'Reilly, Inclusion Aide, Franklin Elementary School from the February 9, 2023 agenda. And item N, approval for Abigail Emerson to receive up to 15 hours for literacy curriculum writing at the curriculum rate of $49.49. I would ask for your consideration in approving them this evening under personnel.
Okay, fantastic. And so we will move to committee reports. We will start with Ed Committee. Ms. Justice.
The Education Committee met on March 2nd for 75 minutes. Board members in attendance were myself, Michael Colon, and Jennifer Erde. Administrators that were in attendance were Superintendent Huff, Joseph Cordero, and Crystal Marr. Our guest for this meeting was Stacy Kaplan, who is one of our literacy coaches. Our discussion items included the science of reading. Stacy Kaplan, our literacy coach, provided an overview on the science of reading. Ms. Kaplan introduced the 5 pillars of literacy, which are phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. The district has made schedule changes that include allocating more time to fully incorporate the structured literacy approach. Changes to K through 1 include the use of decodable text, multiple exposure to skills, and whole class, as well as small group instruction. To date, the K through 1 literacy strand has been completed. Professional development is ongoing for K through 1 teachers. Next steps include changes to the grade 2 reading curriculum to incorporate the structured literacy approach, planning professional development for grades 2 through 5, and piloting a curriculum for grades 3 through 5, which is aligned with reading research. Our next discussion item was the state assessments. Joseph Cordero, our Director of Education, outlined the timing for 2 state assessments that are coming up. In order to meet the state testing graduation requirements, all juniors are required to take the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment that will be administered during the week of March 13th. And the next assessment is the New Jersey Student Learning Assessment that will take place district-wide between May 1st and May 26th. A detailed communication will be sent to families prior to the testing dates. Our third discussion item was NAEP, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is a field test that will be administered to seniors on March 29th. The tests assess what students know and can do in a variety of subjects. The assessment is administered by the National Center for Education Statistics within the U.S. Department of Education, and the results of the field study will not be released to the district. Instead, the results will be used to inform future NAP assessments. Superintendent Huff and Crystal Marr presented the data for our student safety data system, as well as harassment, and intimidation, and bullying earlier. And then our final discussion item was SIOP, the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. It's a research-based and validated instructional model that has proven effective in addressing the needs of English learners in the United States. It is an 8-step model, which gives teachers the ability to develop and implement lessons which can result in successful outcomes for academic needs of linguistic learners. The district is contracted with an outside company to provide a 3-day training for 20 teachers. This cohort will kick off a multi-year plan. There are no recommendations at this time. Our next meeting is March 30th at 3. Do any committee members have anything to add? Or any questions? Any board members have questions? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Justice. Vice President Cho, Operations.
The Operations Committee met on March 1st from 3:30 to 5 p.m. The district members in attendance were Superintendent Scott Huff, Business Administrator Derek Jess, and Kathy Sarno, and the board members in attendance, Melanie Cohn, Kelly Stanton, and myself. The first item for discussion was an update on the bond initiative, along with an update on the high school HVAC project. The city has issued $3.5 million of interim funding and funded $1.5 million to the school district for expenses incurred to date. The remaining balance will be transferred to the school district as expenses are incurred during the design and planning phases. The bonds for the full cost of the project will be issued later this year in around July or August timeframe. The committee also reviewed the updated plans for the lower high school field and fencing. The new turf field will be striped for soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey, along with the lines needed for the Summit High School marching band practice. A softball and youth baseball field will also be integrated into the field at the same location the current one exists at. And new fencing will be installed along Morris Avenue and exploring signage options. The committee also discussed a potential addition of a second floor to the Tatlock Fieldhouse, which is not currently part of the plans. The existing space is only used by the Summit High School athletic programs and covers their needs. The added space on the second floor would allow some programs that currently practice at the high school, cafeteria, and smaller gym to relocate. We are asking our architects for more details on potential costs, but based on the preliminary estimate of $3 million, the Operation Committee does not recommend a change in scope with respect to the Tatlock Fieldhouse renovation. There has been some discussion of possible community support to fund the expansion, and the district staff will explore that possibility. I will note that the Tatlock Fieldhouse is a city-owned property, not the school district, but we are the primary users aside from the public bathrooms. There is a change order for the HVAC here at the high school, which will add air conditioning to the weight room, trainer rooms, and rooms 215 and 221. We did get the details sufficient to proceed. The cost will be approximately $64,000, which will be covered by remaining contingency balance in the original contract, and the remainder will be covered by grants from, the funds remaining from the ESSER grants and a small amount drawn from the Capital Reserve Fund. With respect to the budget, which was presented by Superintendent Scott Huff and they're just on Monday, I do want to just summarize briefly kind of the guidelines that the goals were. One was maintaining the same academic programming, no changes to the extracurricular programming, and then there were some staff increases needed to support the services for ESL and special education. And with the increase in state aid, as Superintendent Scott Huff noted, we were able to stay below the 2% cap with an increase, a proposed tax levy increase of 1.95%. And then the last item for discussion was on the food service update. There was a small January surplus of $9,810. The year-to-date surplus, however, is much larger, primarily because of the government grants for inflation and supply chain adjustments, totaling $240,000. These surplus funds that will be remaining at the end of the year are restricted to the food service program needs, and the district staff is exploring with the Pontonian discussion about renovations to the high school kitchen. And then follow up on last month's item with respect to delinquent student accounts related to the lunch program. Letters are being sent to families with 20 or more outstanding. However, the administration does realize that after 2 years with the free lunch provided for all through the pandemic, some families are forgetting about how the online payments for the students' accounts work. So we're trying to educate those that are still outstanding. And as always, district staff working with families as needed for any paperwork issues for the free and reduced meals. And regardless of the delinquent accounts, no student will be denied lunch. There are 2 items for board, well, one's already been approved, but the board action items, approval for the change order to expand the HVAC to high school, and then the 24 fiscal year budget, which was approved on Monday night. And our next meeting will be March 29th. Kelly and Melanie, anything you'd like to add or questions, clarifications? Derek, anything? Board members?
Okay. Ms. Cohn, policy, this will be quick.
There were no new policy or regulations to review this month, so the committee did not meet. We do recommend the second reading of the policies and recommendations that were discussed last month. They're in section Roman numeral 16 in the agenda, and our next meeting will also be March 29th.
Okay, great, thank you. Communications, Ms. Miller.
Yes, thank you. These are very loud today. Okay, just saying. Good evening, everyone. The Communications Committee met on February 28th for 1 hour. In attendance beside myself were Jan Cho, Kelly Standen from the board, and from the administration, Scott Huff, Lorraine Callender, and Doug Orr, and we had a guest, Dan Healy. We opened our discussion with our bond project communications. The most important aspect of that for the board to know is that Lorraine introduced the district's first infographic communication for the bond, and that was sent to you, I believe, yesterday, so I do hope you had a chance to look at that. The committee unanimously agreed that the information presented was in keeping with our guiding principles for communications for this multi-year initiative. For example, we find the information clear, concise, easily understood, and digestible to our public. The point that I do want to make for anyone listening in out there in the public is that a QR code is on the piece, and that QR code will drive the public to our website. I think that was a piece of brilliance, Lorraine, because the website will have even more information about our projects ongoing. So that QR code hopefully will drive people to the website. The committee asked that a determined number of pieces be printed rather than electronic, so that others outside of our school community could access it if necessary. And with that, the community also discussed how to broaden our reach beyond our district family to include members of the Summit community, those who do not have children within our school district, who may have interest and or questions about the project as it unfolds. And the committee thanks Dan Healy, who came to discuss what my colleague, Mr. Cho, just spoke about from the Operations Committee. The public has been, per usual, highly interested in what is happening with our athletic fields and our athletic buildings. And so Dan came in graciously to help us as a committee understand the matters that are important to those individuals and groups so that we can, inform ourselves about how, when, and where to best communicate to the broader public about those initiatives and others as they come up. We next reviewed the previous ongoing projects and communications. A hall pass and line-wise letter has been distributed to all families or as appropriate to the piloting schools. So for a reminder, just certain schools are piloting the hall pass. That's Lincoln Hubbard, LCJ-SMS, and Summit High School. A 100-day mini newsletter went to schools, and there were some very enjoyable pictures on social media. Thank you for those. They made me happy. And then a traffic safety and pedestrian safety information reminders went out after some unfortunate accidents in our local community, and also in direct response to our PTO presidents asking for our increased communication and information to our families. We went on to our BOE president and superintendent coffee. Unfortunately, a conflict with our originally scheduled date of February 22nd occurred. So the new date is March 30th at 7 p.m. right here in the Summit High School Media Center. Our next topic was the COVID dashboard. And as I sit here, I remember that almost 3 years ago, we needed to make an agonizing decision to close in-person learning to our students, agonizing because we knew it wasn't going to be short. But the COVID dashboard still lives on our district's website and is updated daily. However, thankfully, our COVID situation has drastically improved. And so the dashboard visits on our website are diminishing. For example, in September 2021, we had 5,000 visits. In September 22, we had 700 visits. In December 22, we had 60 visits. So due to both the diminishing visits to the dashboard and the fact that daily updates are thankfully no longer material and necessary, the committee agreed that a shift from daily dashboard updates to weekly updates is appropriate. So the dashboard still lives, but it will only be, ticked up, down, or otherwise on a weekly basis. Finally, we discussed OM3D communications. The OM3D program will take place at the Summit High School after a break from it, forced by COVID. The committee agreed that a shift from our traditional communication approach to a new approach is advisable. The traditional approach was really to have very minimal communication about OM3D. That was recommended as integral to the impact of the program. Our new point of view, and going forward, we will have a little bit more communication about it. Mrs. Grimaldi will communicate in advance of the program to her families when that program will take place and give some information about that. And a NIXL alert will be sent by the City of Summit to alert our broader community that the police and helicopter activity that they see here in the high school is part of an educational program and that they don't need to go screaming from their homes. There's not an actual tragedy unfolding. And I believe that was all that we discussed. It is. We have no recommendations at this time. Our next meeting is Tuesday, March 28th at 12 p.m. Did I miss or flub anything? No, Lorena, I did a good job. Good. Questions? All right.
Nope.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Negotiations committee did in fact meet and related to the ongoing negotiation for a new contract with the SEA for the next school year and beyond. And so it was a prep meeting for an upcoming meeting with the SEA next week. And so again, as I've noted in this forum in prior months, progress is continuing to be made, and we're moving in the right direction, and I believe the SEA feels the same way. So we'll continue to work toward an agreement by the end of this school year, if not sooner. Liaison reports. Liaising. Anyone? No liaison reports. Okay. With that, let's go to public comment. Secretary Jess, the background for public comment, please.
Thank you, President Cologne. Anyone wishing to speak shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address in a clear, audible tone for the record. All comments should be directed to the board president and not an individual member of the board. Unless additional time is granted by the board president, please keep your comments at 3 minutes or less. In addition, please note that this portion of the meeting is for public comment and not meant to be a back and forth. Board members and administration will not respond to questions or comments at this time. However, information will be provided as soon as possible.
Thank you. So let's begin with item A. So public comment for items that have been on this month's agenda. Oh, boy. There's no need to time limit. There's no one standing there.
That was really
Okay. We will close comment for items that have been on this month's agenda, and we will open for items, public comment for items not on the agenda. We have the same problem there now.
Hi, I'm Isabel Tomko. Good evening, members of the board. I'm a sophomore here at Summit High School. Hopefully some of you remember I spoke at the October meeting introducing the idea of more education for nasal spray Narcan and the opioid drug fentanyl. Now I'm here to continue asking for two things: awareness and education in Summit Public Schools. As many of you know, there's a substance abuse problem in this high school. Last week at the PTO meeting, Ms. Grimaldi spoke on vaping in schools, and Mrs. Herbert presented a slideshow about the dangers of marijuana. Their efforts were met with an outpour of support and thanks from parents for their honesty and transparency. Since I last stood in this room, speaking to all of you, there have been multiple incidents on and off of school grounds pertaining to this issue among the student body. It is important for the students of this high school to know what Narcan is, when to use it, and how to administer it. But that is not enough. So I'm asking to have available access to Narcan kits in schools for students to take and Narcan training. Narcan training is super simple. It can be done in less than 10 minutes. I'm also asking for communication to the guardians of students that will teach them the dangers of fentanyl poisoning and all drugs and what some of the schools are doing about it. I'm creating an awareness campaign called the F Word. I've created a website, www.fword.net, that talks about what Narcan and fentanyl are and what is being done in Summit Township to save lives. This website will be asking the Summit community to support our efforts. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, and well noted. Any other members of the community for public comment? Okay. Secretary Jess, with that, we'll close the public comment.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving into the other parts of the agenda, let's go to finance, item 14. We have items A through U.
We need to approve the minutes first, please.
Where did, I lost a page, my apologies. There we go. Yes, let's go, and I also missed the curriculum and instruction and program. This is a rough day for me. Okay, approval of the board minutes. Do I have a motion? Thank you.
We have a second?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, I didn't hear second, I only heard the motion. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Okay, now, for item 14, we have item 13, curriculum instruction program. items A through E. Do I have a motion to approve?
Ms. Stanton? Ms. Miller? Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Ms. Cohen? Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and we make it to finance. So as I mentioned, we have items A through U. Do I have a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
Ms. Stanton? Ms. Miller? Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Ms. Cohen? Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Personnel, item 15, inclusive of the two items in the addendum, that would be items A through N. Do I have a motion to approve?
Ms. Stanton? Ms. Miller? Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Ms. Cohen? Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, policies and regulations, as noted in the committee readout or the committee note, there are no first readings. We do have 6 second readings, and Sue, do I have a motion to approve those second readings? There we go.
Thank you. Ms. Stanton? Ms. Miller? Ms. Justice? Ms. Erde? Ms. Cohen? Vice President Cho?
Yes.
President Cologne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, closed session. We are going to have a very brief closed session this evening. And so should I have a motion to open that or a motion to close the public? How do you-
I'll read the resolution so we can go into executive session, and then we'll do a motion to adjourn. So whereas pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B, the Board of Education may exclude the public from that portion of a meeting wherein the board discusses any of the matters set forth at NJSA 10:4-12B 1 through 9. Now therefore be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Board of Education shall conduct a closed session pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 10:4-12B for the purpose of discussing the following matters: negotiations. No action will be taken, and the board will not return. May we have a motion to go into executive session, please? May we have a second? Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, and may we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8:03.
Okay.